If casinos do get off the ground in Massachusetts, you could one day place bets with Bitcoin, a digital currency that comes with no fees, no middleman, and no banks. The virtual cash is beginning to gain traction, so much so that the IRS is looking into new regulations. Here's how it works.
Bitcoin is the first decentralized digital currency.
This promotional video espouses the benefits of Bitcoins, explaining how they can be used for online purchases.
Bitcoins are transferred directly from person to person via the net, without going through a bank or clearinghouse.
The brainchild of an anonymous Japanese programmer, Bitcoins are intended to mimic cash. Explaining what they are is more complicated.
Bitcoins are generated all over the internet by anybody running a free application called a Bitcoin miner. The Bitcoin software is completely open source, and anybody can review the code.
But that open source ethos is also a downside. Unlike national currency, Bitcoins have no intrinsic value other than what people think they're worth.
Several currency exchanges exist where you can trade your Bitcoins for dollars, euros, and more.
That's led currency speculators to drive the value of a single Bitcoin to almost $800. And because they offer anonymity, Bitcoins are mostly associated with illicit purchases from shadowy websites like Silk Road, which was recently shuttered by federal authorities. Still,
Bitcoin is changing finance the same way the web changed publishing.
Build a better mousetrap and you know what happens. My next guest has written extensively about Bitcoin's emergence into the mainstream. Dan Primack is a senior editor at Fortune. Welcome, Dan.
Thanks for having me.
I've been trying to get my head around this all day, and I'm really struggling with it. So in some simple terms.
For starters, you're not alone. When big professional investors or people at Treasury get asked about it, they often say the same thing. They don't quite get it. In simplest terms, it's money without the physical money. Imagine kind of what we all thought of music when there was records or tapes or compact discs, and now it's all MP3s. Kind of similar in that sense. It's been digitized. The thing about Bitcoin, or the reason why it's become popular, or people think it will, is the idea that it's an international currency, or it doesn't matter whether you're in Europe, whether you're in Japan, whether you're in the U.S. It's all the same, and therefore it should make transactions across country easier to do.
Okay, but do I have to physically lay money out of my pocket to get some Bitcoin?
To actually get some Bitcoin, yeah, you would have to buy it. It's a virtual good, but just like, for example, if you wanted to buy a song on iTunes, you have to actually pay for it. You would, and you can buy it with dollars. It's strange. It's not dollars, but you can purchase it with dollars.
All right, so this, the United States Senate had a hearing yesterday. Treasury Department was there, IRS. They're trying to figure out whether it should be regulated.
Right.
You have to pay taxes on it if you have a gain. They have a term
You should.
for
if you have a capital gain, just like if you bought a stock and you got a profit, et cetera. Yeah, you know, interestingly, so far it seems that the U.S. government isn't terribly interested in doing much regulation on it. Ben Bernanke, the outgoing Fed chief, was asked about it. He said he doesn't think it's something they're going to really regulate right now. There's been some regulation on the illicit side. That video mentioned that Silk Road, which had been used for drug dealing and some other even worse things, that has been shut down. But in general, as a currency, the U.S. hasn't figured it out. And more surprisingly, China, which is really kind of controls its economics a lot, also hasn't really done any regulation yet.
It doesn't sound like for the average person it would be that easy. There's this thing, you're a Bitcoin miner, and you have to go, and then you're faced with some complicated algorithms or something. What's that got to do with it?
Well,
why do I have to solve a math problem?
Well, just like you or I, we have dollars, right, which are technically backed by gold. You or I think, maybe I'm wrong, don't actually go mining for gold. But we do have the dollars. We do have what comes from it. The mining is a difficult process, and there is supposedly a limited number of Bitcoin, I think 21 million Bitcoin, and you can have percentages of Bitcoins, fractions of them, and that's complicated math. For the rest of us, though, the idea eventually is that this will be a digital currency that you or I not only could use to pay each other for various things, but things that you could use at stores, at merchants, et cetera. For them, they wouldn't have to pay the credit card fees.
Are there any stores that actually take it now? I know like a website, OkCupid takes it.
Yeah, and Baidu, which is kind of the big Chinese version of Amazon, takes it. There are a couple mostly in Silicon Valley. I'm not sure if there are any in Boston. There is a local entrepreneur named Jeremy Allaire who founded Brightcove. He's a big tech investor or tech entrepreneur here. He just created a company that's supposed to make it easier for retailers, particularly small ones, to accept it.
I mean, is this something that could overtake currency as we know it?
I don't think could overtake. The big problem with Bitcoin today is the volatility of it. In other words, if we have a $5 bill in our pocket, even though there might be inflation, we generally know what it's worth, and it'll be worth that in a week, in a month, in a year. With Bitcoin, it could be worth 5 times that or 5 times less than that. What really has to happen with Bitcoin right now is rather than a couple speculators owning it, You need big institutions, maybe even governments, to buy big stakes of it. But is it going to overtake currencies? No. It's going to be, if it works, it's going to be a companion to them.
Okay, but what if it stabilized and it didn't have that volatility? I
still don't think it's going to replace. We'll see ultimately. We're not even in the first inning. You could say we're in the pregame still of Bitcoin. There's big security issues still. For example, if we have money in the bank and the bank gets robbed or they lose it somehow, we're insured by the FDIC. If your Bitcoin account gets hacked, you have no protections on that.
Yeah. Well, it's really fascinating. I just learned about it today. I should have known more about it. But Dan Primack, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.